guys, welcome here to our channel. My name's Krista. I'm excited that you guys are here stopping by today. Today I'm just going to show you a little bit of my life living here in the desert with my husband, my 2 kids under 2, and then our third little one. I should say our 2 kids under 3 and then our third little one. Anyways, I'm just going to take you along. I started out the day with, after I had my coffee and quiet time, then we got going with a bit of a French toast breakfast. My husband was home for the day. He had taken it off because we're working on some house projects. And so one of his favorite things to eat right now is French toast. And it's super, super easy to throw together. It's one of those ones I don't mind doing. You know, it doesn't take that long and it always tastes really good. So anyways, I got some eggs that I had picked up from a friend and just beat those up, added a bit of stevia for sweetener and some cinnamon, and then I added some milk. This was really nice because I had some sourdough bread that turned out a little bit not so nice, like it was kind of crusty and just, I can't remember what all, but it wasn't like your ideal sandwich bread. So this was perfect because I could use it up and it soaked up the egg mixture, and so it made it pretty nice and tasty. This griddle was actually a wedding present from some friends, and I can't tell you how many times I've used it, like especially lately. I've been using it a ton, mostly for like grilled cheese sandwiches and stuff. Especially when my husband's home on the weekends, we like to do French toast quite often lately. So anyways, it works great for that. And of course, because there's only a couple people in our family, all I have to do is like one round and then that's it. And then we pull out the maple syrup, peanut butter, and honey. And my husband gets the maple syrup. The kids get the peanut butter and honey. I like to do peanut butter because I feel like it helps them stay fuller longer. You can see my kids. My little girl's reaching out. She's like, "I'm ready, Mama." Anyways, they don't mind this breakfast either. It's one of their favorites. One thing that I'm trying to do on a regular basis is have a kefir shake. I found that once I started drinking homemade kefir, that it made a huge difference in my skin while being pregnant. I used to have horrible skin issues. Whenever I got pregnant, I always knew that I was pregnant just based off my face. It was so bad. And it was especially weird because normally I don't have a lot of issues with my skin. Even like when I was a teenager and stuff, I had fairly good skin. So I found kefir was like the only thing that would help. So anyways, it's kind of fun to pull out the kefir grains and then make a shake. I try to drink this every day. And so I usually like to do it first thing in the morning because, sometimes I get tired of it. And so this way I can at least get it in right away. I'll often add okra, or in this case I'm doing frozen cauliflower, just to kind of give myself some extra veggies first thing in the morning. For those of you that drink shakes, do you add frozen veggies to yours at all? If you're familiar with Trim Healthy Mama, it's more of a yuck yum just because the way you add baobab, cinnamon, flaxseed, a bunch of different superfood type things. And this time I did add protein powder because I wanted to make sure I was getting a full serving. That's pretty important to me being pregnant. And then of course I divvy it up between a couple cups because my kids feel like they're entitled to their share. It's just, I guess, part of our routine. I make a giant jug and then we'll share it with the kids. It's actually hilarious. Whenever I make mayonnaise or something in the blender now, the kids will come, and especially my oldest, he'll go and grab a cup and I'll be like, "Dude, you don't want to drink this." It's disgusting. So that's always kind of funny. Next up, I've also been trying to make sure I hydrate well. So I pour a little bit of apple cider vinegar into a cup and then add some flavoring to it. In this case, I did one of the Trim Healthy Mama Cherry Hydrate packets, and that's always really yummy. My kids get excited when they see this one too, so I have to kind of, I try to make sure I'm the main one drinking it just because I wanted the apple cider vinegar to help with just overall pregnancy health. And yeah, they think essentially if I'm drinking something, they should get a bit of it too, which can be kind of cute, but also sometimes I'm like, okay guys, you have your own stuff. After that, then I grabbed the yogurt. I made this the day before, and I had left it in the back room just where it was kind of warm, just to let it set, and it turned out really, really nice. I kind of struggled getting the lid off. I need to get a different lid for this pot or get a handle or something. Anyways, I've just made do for now. But you can see it's pretty thick. I still like to strain it out just so I can get extra whey off, and then it ends up super, super nice and thick. Often it seems like there's so many little things to homemaking that, it doesn't take a lot of time to do a lot of these things, but there's just so many little things that it's amazing the time it takes. After that, I got laundry going, which I've showed you guys before, so I was like, let's skip that for this video, and let's just get to cleaning up the kitchen. There's often times where I really do not feel like doing this, as I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I knew if I didn't get it cleaned up, I would wish I had done it later on. So it's one of those things that you're like, just got to get in, got to tackle it. Once you get going, it's not too bad, but it often helps to put music on or put a podcast on. Also, just knowing that I have a limited window for some of these things, where I think my little girl was napping, and so I was like, okay, let's see how much I can clear and get cleaned up while she's asleep, and then that way when she's up, then I can do other things. I had been making bread all the past week, and so I had a bit of sourdough starter left over that was all fed, and I was like, what should I do with it? I didn't want to make more bread, so I ended up getting some grain going because I thought, hey, let's make some pizza. Of course, in the process, somehow somebody got into the grain, and so then I had grain all over the floor and was like, okay, well, I guess let's go ahead and vacuum the floor and get that cleaned up. Accomplishing things these days are very, very hit and miss. It just depends. Some days there's moments, pockets of time where I feel like I can just do everything. And at other times where I'm like, I feel like this baby could come right now. You just feel some of those pregnancy aches and stuff. And so I would just try to do stuff as I feel like I have energy and try to be smart about how I go about it. I'm also trying to be careful with what I tell myself, because I found that I was kind of going and getting into a rut of being negative about how I was feeling, and just having this running this commentary in the back of my head all the time about what I was feeling and why I was feeling it, and just allowing myself to get depressed about how I'm just so far from the delivery day and I'm already feeling this way. And I just found that it was over time it wasn't helping any. So I actually made a goal to be purposeful about not allowing myself to go there. Essentially choosing what I allow into my mind and to not dwell on how I'm feeling, how I like or don't like how I'm feeling, but just trying to be grateful for the positive things about pregnancy and stuff. For example, the fact that I can be at home, I can have rest days if I need to. A lot of times during the week, if you were to come over here, you would find me sitting around a lot. I'll get up and do dinners, take care of the family, feed them. But then a lot of time I'll either be laying down on the couch or just trying to keep my Braxton Hicks from going crazy. And so there's a lot of positives. I'm just grateful that I don't have an office job or something like that where I have to go to work, because I don't know how I would function. I'm sure God would give me the grace I needed if that was a situation that I was in. But I'm very grateful to be able to be in a home setting where, for the most part, I can stay relaxed generally. I mean, sometimes there's things that come up or things that happen where you can't totally relax. I can feel the Braxton Hicks picking up just because maybe I'm stressed about something, or just different things that can happen. But overall, I am very, very grateful that I can be at home with the kids and we can take naps as needed, or if we need to just chill and sit on the couch, read a book, we can do that. And there's no pressure or anything. It's I don't have deadlines or anything apart from, doing a video for you guys. But I am grateful because so far I'm grateful just for how God gives strength in the moments where you need them. One thing that's different this pregnancy is just how much the baby moves. It is crazy. Like the other day in church, I felt like I had this wave pool going on in my belly, which I don't remember. Like usually when you go somewhere or you're active, I feel like the baby generally would get shy and like all quiet and like not move much. But this baby is different. I'm a little bit scared to see what it's going to be like because just how active it is. It's crazy. Even at like the 18-week ultrasound or whatever, when they tried to get pictures of the baby's face or just check out the baby, it was like she couldn't get readings on stuff. She had to keep trying and trying because the baby was moving so much. It was like so crazy active. And so I was telling someone, I'm like, I feel like the third baby should be super chill. Don't they say the third one's the easiest? But I don't know. I feel like this one knows it's going to have to, work to keep up with the older two. And so it's like, I'm doing it already. That's kind of the feeling I get. One thing I was excited to try was a recipe I'd seen on Instagram where you take sweetened condensed milk and then it's basically a truffle where you add that to cocoa powder and some butter and you cook it down until it's like little consistency. And so I was like, let's try that. For some reason I was suddenly fixated by that and was like, I want to make this. So I started out by finding a recipe for sweetened condensed milk that was sugar-free. So I used that, and then it took kind of a while because you really have to cook the mixture down. I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. I had to remake the recipe because the first time I made it, when I got to the last couple steps, I ended up burning the chocolate and ruined it. So anyways, but I just started out by making the sweetened condensed milk, and it took a couple tries to get it. Like I had to keep checking because I wanted to cook this mixture down to about 1 cup. So you'll see here in a little bit me like checking it, measuring it. But in the meantime, I was like, let's go ahead and strain the yogurt. It was as thick as I wanted it. I know you can strain it for quite a while longer, but enough of the whey had come out. It was a good consistency for me. Out of a gallon of milk, I got 2 quarts and maybe a cup or so. That's about average what I get when I make a gallon of yogurt. And then back to the sweetened condensed milk, it was just stirring it, letting it sit, stirring it. And then I would dump it out and measure it and be like, is it down to 1 cup yet? And then it was like, nope, not quite. So put it back on the stove and just let it keep simmering and stirring it. And it took, I'm not sure how long. I forgot to check the time. But it took a good bit of time. I'll try to remember to include the recipe or the ingredients for this. Basically, it's a chocolate from Brazil. I believe that's where it's from, and I have no idea how to say it. Brigadeiro or something like that. Anyway, so then once the sweetened condensed milk was done, then I just set that aside. Forgotten my sourdough pizza dough. I was supposed to like stretch it and fold it every like 4 times for the next 2 hours, and I completely forgot, but it still turned out great even though I had forgotten about that. So back to these truffles, I just mixed up the cocoa powder and the butter and then added in the sweetened condensed milk. At first I was like, do you really use this much sweetened condensed milk? I was like, are you sure? And so I had to go look up the recipe, try to hunt it down on my YouTube history, trying to find it. And yep, sure thing, you use a whole can of sweetened condensed milk. So that was the equivalent of about 1 cup of this mixture. So then I just put it back on the stove, and you wanted to cook it till it was kind of a thick paste. And I completely messed up the first time. I cooked it too long. It got too high, too quick, the high heat. I shouldn't have turned it up at the end. I did because I was trying to speed up the process, and then the chocolate burned, and it was horrible, and there were lots of tears, and I was tired, and it was a mess. And so then a couple hours later, I was like, should I try it? I don't know. I really want to do it. And so once I actually measured out, because I had just enough heavy cream left to do it one more time, and so I did. And I'm so glad I did, because it turned out really, really well. So if you make this, the key is doing it on low heat and just keep a really close eye on it. It didn't take me very long once I actually knew what I was doing. I didn't need to have it on the stove near as long because my sweetened condensed milk was already hot. Lately, one thing I've been enjoying doing is making a cold tea. I'll just get some sort of flavored tea. On this day, I did peach tea. I added in 1 raspberry leaf tea bag because I'm trying to slowly start drinking that just in preparation for the labor and everything. And then I added in some strawberries. I happen to have some fresh strawberries, so I just like to carry this around the house. And oh my word, I just saw I have sourdough on my ring. Anyways, I remember discovering it later in the day and being like, ew. But I do like to drink that during the day, just trying to keep my hydration levels up pretty good. I had pulled out about 1 cup of tomato sauce from the freezer, so I had that defrosted, and then I just poured it into a pot so that way when it was ready to make some pizza sauce, it would happen just a little bit faster. I took my pizza dough, I doubled the recipe, and so then I just pushed it into the pan. The recipe actually says to put it into a cast iron skillet, so it would be thicker. I guess I had a fly buzzing around that was kind of bugging me when I was swatting at, but anyways, yeah, the crust ended up being fairly thin. I did let it rise for at least 30 minutes, if not 45 minutes after I had put them in the pans, but still they were pretty thin. So next time I would probably just make them in the skillet, in like a large cast iron skillet, and I think that would add a fun touch to it as well. Add a bit of crispness to the crust and stuff. I find it's really easy to throw together some pizza sauce, so I just used some tomato sauce, added some spices, some sweetener. To be honest, I'd literally just pull up a recipe from online and make that. This time I had more time for the sauce to cook, which is kind of ideal because you kind of want the flavors to meld and to just be all together. Anyways, I can't think of the word to use right now. Then I grated up some cheese. I had some white cheese already got ready to go, but I had some hamburger meat from a different meal, hamburger patties. So I just chopped those up and then put that on one of the pizzas. My husband really likes pepperoni and cheese, and I really like using stuff up from the fridge, so that's why I used those chunks from the hamburger patties. Those were cooked and just, I'm always like, how do you use leftover hamburger patties? You know, like the day after, they're just not the same. I guess, you know, if you heat them up, they're pretty good. But when you pull them out of the fridge and they're cold, it's kind of like, oh, what should I do with this? It doesn't seem very appetizing. I'm trying to remember what we actually had with the pizza. I usually like to throw some veggie with it. I think we did like maybe cucumbers or something like that. Anyways, the next day I pulled the truffles out of the fridge. Ideally, you were supposed to just let them sit in the fridge for an hour to harden, but I was worn out. And so the next day I was like, let's make those truffles. And I let this sit out for a couple hours because it was quite hard when I pulled it out of the fridge, and I noticed it definitely, once it touched the warmth of your hands, they got pretty slick. So I rolled them in cocoa powder so they wouldn't stick to each other. They turned out very, very decadent and absolutely delicious. So, so good. I have to be careful to not eat too many of them at one time just because they're so incredibly good. Those are really good. I'm gonna throw them in the fridge so they harden, but I'm so glad they turned out. This would be really good for like a postpartum treat or something. I bet if you froze this, that would be so good. Anyways, I'm gonna save these for when I want to have sugar-free treats. Sometimes when you go places and they have off-plan stuff, it really helps to know you have good options at home. So like today I'm going off to a baby shower for my sister-in-law, so I'm sure they're gonna have all kinds of sweets there, and I don't really want to eat sugar-filled stuff. So I'm gonna use this. I'll be like, I've got these back home. I can have them when I get back. I can have a couple. They're super rich though, and they don't look the prettiest, but hey, if it tastes good, they're for me. So anyways.